Hello, my name is Amara Smith, and my husband John and I are the founders of Safe Place Bedding. We created our company based on the challenges that we face with our son, Skylar, who's diagnosed with Angelman syndrome. We sell bedding equipment and safety beds all over the world. Before I tell you about how we started our company, I just wanted to share a little bit about our story. Skylar was our firstborn child. Yes, we had 3 kids, and he was our first, and we were brave to have 2 more. We have 2 girls as well. But when Skylar was born, he was a healthy baby. We had no indication of him having anything going on with him. However, as he was growing in those months to follow, he was not meeting his milestones. And so the doctors became really concerned, and so were we. Being brand new parents, we literally had no idea what we were doing. But the doctors started a series of testing on Skylar, and he started therapies. And the therapies were helpful. However, the testing always came back negative. And so we were still left without answers as to why he was experiencing the delays that he was. It wasn't until Skylar was almost 3 years old that we finally got an answer for him. And that was because Skylar has the mutated gene and not the deletion. So these original tests that he took were negative. However, when they did further testing, the Angelman syndrome came back positive, and we finally had answers, and which caused us to have 2 emotions. The first one was relief, and that we knew and we had a name for what was going on with Sky. But secondly, there was despair. We knew that our life would be completely different than what our expectations were. And so the dreams that we had for Skylar, we had to learn how to lay down and pick up new dreams. And we even still do that to this day. There's dreams we have to pick up that are new, and because we have to move forward, right? Skylar developed seizures when he was 5. And now I should go back and say that from the time Skylar was born, that boy did not sleep at all. We know that newborn babies don't sleep, but there's a whole other level of not sleeping when you have an angel. And if you have an angel that sleeps, that's amazing. But that was not the case for us, okay? Skylar did not sleep. We were exhausted. I don't know how John and I survived, but somehow we're still here. We're still kicking. But anyway, so that has always been a challenge for us, especially in those younger years when, he was little and Skylar was sick all the time. He aspirated his fluids. We were in the hospital a lot. He had aspiration pneumonia, and lots of times would be in the hospital for a week or so just to get through that. So through all of that, we had to learn how to thicken fluids, and they said he had acid reflux, but he didn't. It was something else. And so there was so much that was going on with him, especially when he was really young. But when he turned 5, at that point is when Skylar developed seizures. I know not all angels develop them, which thank God for that. But a lot of our angels do. And so Skylar was 5, and we did get medicine that controlled them for several years. And in that time span, a couple years after that, Skylar learned how to walk. And so independently, not just holding a hand. And so that was another huge milestone that Skylar met. And again, a cause for celebration, right? And so through all that, still, Skylar was not the greatest sleeper, but we eventually figured out how he did like to sleep. And so Skylar has always loved to be cocooned or to have deep pressure. And he loves those big bear hugs, and he'll squeeze your neck really tight because he just loves to feel that deep pressure on his body. Well, one time we purchased a home where the original owners built beds that were playhouse beds. And in the one in Skylar's room was shaped like a barn. And he would go into that bed, and he closed the little door, and he would sleep. And we were like, this is a miracle. And it truly was. It was a miracle. And Skylar would sleep at night, and there were times he would get up, but most of the time, sleep became the new normal for us. And that was an answer to prayer. And so that was great until wherever we wanted to travel. And that's kind of how our business began. And I'll tell you about that here in a minute. But with Skylar, he would actually sleep in that cocooned He felt safe. He was able to calm his body down enough to sleep. That overstimulation was what was keeping him awake. And so he was actually able to sleep. So that was really, really amazing and a huge breakthrough for our family and for Skylar, because now he was getting the rest that he needed. When Skylar hit puberty, though, at 12 years old, that's when his seizures started to go completely out of control. And it was probably the hardest 6 years, I would say, of his life to this point, because we were back and forth with different medicines with the doctor, and he was in the hospital a couple times, and it was honestly very scary. And during that time, all of the progress Skylar made in his development, as far as walking and core control, he digressed severely. And it went back to, okay, we got to hold Skylar's hand to walk. And then that eventually became we have to really hold him under his arms to walk. And then it became, we need a wheelchair when we go places, because as you know, puberty and hormones causes a young man to grow up, to grow big. And he was getting bigger and harder, especially for me as mom, to move him around. And so having a wheelchair is now our new normal when we go places and when we move Skylar around, even though he can still walk some with 2-hand assist. But we definitely need Dad there because he's a man now. He's a man. He's 21 years old now. But eventually, when his hormones stabilized as he got older, those seizures started to stabilize too. He still has the occasional seizure, but it's not like it was, and I'm really grateful for that. But now we're kind of back at that place of helping to get Skylar strong, to get him to maybe walk again on his own. And it just brings new challenges. Every season of life can bring new challenges, and I'm just hoping he's coming out of one that we just kind of went through with him just a couple years ago. But back to how we started our company. And so when we went on a trip one time, so Skylar would sleep at home, but then whenever we would go anywhere, he was awake all night. And it was so hard. I mean, and it was unsafe. It was so unsafe because, as you know, a hotel room or a condo is not your home, and he's not used to that. And so there's dangers that await a child who would get out of where they're sleeping at, or if they're awake at night and they get into something. It's very scary. So one night, though, we were on a trip. We braved it. We always wanted to make memories with our family. We always wanted to travel. And so it was very difficult to do that, though, because Skylar didn't sleep. And so if he didn't sleep, nobody else in the house slept. It was just, it was really hard. And so, anyway, one night Skylar was awake. It was 3 a.m. Now, I will tell you, our girls, because they grew up with Skylar, that was their normal. So they knew how to sleep through him being loud and yelling, which is probably a gift. But John and I were up, right? And so, anyway, we were awake, and my husband said, there has to be something out there that you can take with you, set it up, your child can sleep safely, and then you can take it home with you. And we looked, and we didn't see anything out there that we were looking for. My husband drew an idea out on a piece of paper that very night. And that began a series of patent searches, of engineer conversations. We had to learn how to work with manufacturers. We had no idea how to do this. However, John, being a nurse, he was a nurse before we started our business. Actually, he was a nurse during a lot of the first years of our business. He had a background and what's needed medically and what is safe and things of that nature. But we still had to learn so much, and we are still learning today. And so we began our company with our travel bed, and we saw that all over the world. And it's changing lives. Our motto is live without limits. And our heart behind that is that even though we live in a world where everything for us is limited, we want to create resources and products that help us to go beyond those limits and to live a life that can be limitless, and not let things hold us back. And it's easy to let things hold us back, but that's not our heart. Our heart is we want to create the resources out there that help families like us to experience the world and to make memories with their family. And so from then, we have since developed our home bed model, and that also is it's a solid bed that's used at home, and it gives parents peace of mind, and it gives a very safe place for our children to rest and to sleep, and you don't have to worry about them harming themselves at night. And so we get to help families in that capacity, and it's wonderful. And even now, we are the company that is going to be the place to come for a safety bed. And so anyway, that's a little bit about our company. And I just really wanted to encourage you and let you know that I know this life is hard. If you have a special needs child in any capacity, let alone Angelman syndrome, it can be so hard and it can be so lonely. And you can feel very unseen at times. And I get emotional about that still. But know that there is a great purpose for you, and there's a great purpose for your child. And there's so many people that you and your child reach that you don't even understand, you don't even know. Because people are watching, and they see the way you love the ones that the world can deem unlovable. But they see that in you. And so there is great purpose in your life. And I also just want you to know that you're capable. You're more capable than you know. One time someone told me that God doesn't equip, he doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And that has stuck with me for many, many years. And I would like to just leave you today with a verse. It's Psalm 46, verse 1. And it says, God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. And I know that we all face times of trouble. And but we can rely on a good God who is there to get us through. So thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day.